Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome back to Far From Eden. If it is your first time here, well, it's Sunday, and we have a thing we do here on Sundays, which seems a little weird, I think, when you compare it to other sort of pro-men spaces. We have Fairytale time. Sometimes it's other things. It could be a poem. It could be something. But for right now, we are working our way through the Grimm. It's very old. It's from the 1930s, and I picked it up already kind of in this condition, but it's worth its weight in gold to me, even though I know that it's 20th century edition, so it's already a bit wokeified, believe it or not, because the last one we read, oh my goodness. So the little boy, the almond tree, it's also known as the juniper tree. It's actually known as the juniper tree. For some reason in my book, it's the almond tree. But the little boy in the story, I'm not really giving things away, apparently. And I was nervous. Remember, I was nervous about the stew. Yeah, you guys wrote and commented and said, yeah, he was in the stew. I was like, I thought so. So they already, I guess, wokeified it, you could say. Disney went woke here recently, right? They've always been woke. And a lot of you guys already know, Walt himself was a Freemason. So you can go down that rabbit hole if you like. I certainly invite you to, because it's definitely a thing. He's not this American hero, wonderful. Didn't Tom Hanks play him in the movie? That should be a red flag right there. But anyway, so we like to go back to, well, what did we used to know? Because a lot of us around here can agree it used to be better. Society used to be better. People used to be happier. Things used to work better. There was less crime, etc. So what did we know back then that we don't know now? And how did we get here? And can we ever get back? These are all questions we like to explore on the channel. And we have found truth in, old poetry, old stories, Bible, lots of places like that I think we definitely shouldn't overlook. And it never hurts to look for things that are true, good, and beautiful. Sometimes you have to look pretty hard these days. But it's kind of turned Sunday into story day. So it doesn't always mean it's happy and easy, because it is Grimm Fairy Tales. I've never read this one, just chose it because of the title. The title is Frederick and Catherine. I thought, well, there's a man and a woman. I bet there's a story here. We're going to find out. We'll see what kind of truth we can discern from this. Frederick and Catherine. Please, book, don't fall apart. Frederick and Catherine. There was once a man called Frederick. He had a wife whose name was Catherine, and they had not long been married. One day, Frederick said, Kate, I am going to work in the fields. When I come back, I shall be hungry. So let me have something nice cooked and a good draught of ale. Well, isn't that misogynistic of him? Very well, said she. It shall be ready. When dinner time drew nigh, Catherine took a nice steak, which was all the meat she had, and put it on the fire to fry. The steak soon began to cook brown and to crackle in the pan, and Catherine stood by with a fork and turned it. Then she said to herself, the steak is almost ready. I may as well go to the cellar for the ale. So she left the pan on the fire and took a large jug and went into the cellar and tapped the ale cask. The beer ran into the jug, and Catherine stood looking on. At last, it popped into her head. The dog is not shut up. He may be running away with the steak. That's well thought of. So up she ran from the cellar, and sure enough, the rascally cur had got the steak in his mouth and was making off with it. Away ran Catherine, and away ran the dog across the field, but he ran faster than she, and stuck close to the steak. It's all gone, and what can't be cured must be endured. What can't be cured must be endured. I mean, that's not a bad sentence. And said Catherine. So she turned around, and as she had run a good way and was tired, she walked home leisurely to cool herself. Now, all this time, the ale was running too. I thought of that because, oh my gosh, this lady's a mess. Now, all this time, the ale was running too, for Catherine had not turned the cock. And soon, it's like the cork, but it's turn the cock. And when the jug was full, liquor ran upon the floor till the cask was empty. When she got to the cellar stairs, she saw what had happened. My stars, said she, what shall I do to keep Frederick from seeing all this slopping about? She's just interested in getting out of consequences. She didn't say, oh no, what have I done? I've wasted all of this. Meanwhile, he's at work, right? Who pays for all this? While she's over here, letting the dog run off with the steak and spilling all the ale out. Is this her first day? So she thought a while, and at last remembered that there was a sack of fine meal bought at the last fair, and that if she sprinkled this over the floor, it would suck up the ale nicely. What a lucky thing, said she, that we kept that meal. We have now a good use for it. So away she went for it, but she managed to set it down just upon the great jug full of beer and upset it, and thus all the ale that had been saved was set swimming on the floor also. Oh my gosh, a nightmare. Oh, well, said she, when one goes, another may as well follow. Then she strewed the meal all about the cellar and was quite pleased with her cleverness and said, how very neat and clean it looks. At noon, Frederick came home. Now, wife, cried he, what have you for dinner? Oh my goodness. Oh, Frederick, answered she, I was cooking you a steak, but while I went down to draw the ale, the dog ran away with it. And while I ran after him, the ale all ran out. And when I went to dry up the ale with the sack of meal that we got at the fair, I upset the jug. But the cellar is now quite dry and looks so clean. Did you notice what she didn't say? She didn't say, I shouldn't have left the steak unattended. I shouldn't have gone down to get the ale until it was ready and I could, set it aside away from where the dog could get it. I was careless with the ale. And I think they had another use for this meal that she spilled all over the floor. Oh my goodness. But don't worry, because the cellar looks so neat and clean, because that's what's important. What are you going to eat, woman? Kate, said he, how could you do all this? Why did you leave the steak to fry and the ale to run and then spoil all the meal? Why, Frederick, said she, I did not know I was doing wrong. You should have told me before. Oh, now it's his fault. It's his fault. She didn't know she was doing wrong. That's not true. She's lying because when she was getting the ale, she thought to herself, wait a second, the dog, I didn't put him up. She knows well what she did. The husband thought to himself, if my wife manages matters thus, I must look sharp myself. Now he had a good deal of gold in the house, so he said to Catherine, What pretty yellow buttons these are. I shall put them into a box and bury them in the garden, but take care that you never go near or meddle with them. No, Frederick, said she, that I never will. So basically what he took from all that is, oh gosh, she messed all that up. I have to do better. Is this when simping started? This is like how to simp 101. She did all this. Must have been my fault. I got to do better. As soon as he was gone, there came by some peddlers with earthenware, plates, and dishes, and they asked her whether she would buy. Oh, dear me, I should like to buy very much, but I have no money. If you had any use for yellow buttons, I might deal with you. Yellow buttons, said they, let us have a look at them. Go into the garden and dig where I tell you, and you will find the yellow buttons. I dare not go myself. Oh my goodness. So the rogues went, and when they found what these yellow buttons were, they took them all away and left her plenty of plates and dishes. Then she set them all about the house for a show. And when Frederick came back, he cried out, Kate, what have you been doing? See, said she, I have bought all these with your yellow buttons, but I did not touch them myself. The peddlers went themselves and dug them up. Wife, wife, said Frederick, what a pretty piece of work you have made. Those yellow buttons were all my money. How came you to do such a thing? Why, answered she, I did not know there was any harm in it. You said you should have told me. Catherine stood musing for a while, and at last said to her husband, Hark ye, Frederick, we will soon get the gold back. Let us run after the thieves. What is she gonna do? Well, we will try, answered he, but take some butter and cheese with you, that we may have something to eat by the way. Very well, said she, and they set out, and as Frederick walked the fastest, he left his wife some way behind. It does not matter, thought she. When we turn back, I shall be so much nearer home than he. She is a selfish brat. Presently, she came to the top of a hill, down the side of which there was a road so narrow that the cart wheels always chaffed the trees on each side as they passed. Ah, see now, said she, how they have bruised and wounded these poor trees. They will never get well. Oh no. So she took pity on them and made use of the butter to grease them all, so that the wheels might not hurt them so much. While she was doing this kind office, one of her cheeses fell out of the basket and rolled down the hill. Catherine looked, but could not see where it had gone. So she said, Well, I suppose the other will go the same way and find you. He has younger legs than I have. What? I'm trying to think right now. Is she this dumb, or is she this selfish and manipulative? And right now, I'm going with a combination of both, which is probably not that helpful to you guys at this point in time. But so far, it's a combination of both. I know there's going to be a lot of you that kind of go, oh my God, she's just a complete liar. We can be dumb. I mean, we can be. Some of it is naivete. Some of it is, just cluelessness. But the thing is that sometimes, when you're a little girl and then growing up, you might learn that being clueless is advantageous. So that's how we get to a combination of both. So then she rolled the other cheese after it, and away it went, nobody knows where. Bless you, Lola sneezed. Lola is my little dog. and because I'm a total stereotype, just kidding. And anytime she distracts me, I'm reminded to ask you guys to please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Back to her throwing the other piece of cheese away. Then she rolled the other cheese after it, and away it went, nobody knows where, down the hill. But she said she supposed that they knew the road and would follow her, and she could not stay there all day waiting for them. Waiting for the cheese? I have no idea. At last, she overtook Frederick, who desired her to give him something to eat. Then she gave him the dry bread. Where are the butter and cheese? Said he. Oh, answered she, I used the butter to grease those poor trees that the wheels chafed so, and one of the cheeses ran away, so I sent the other cheese after it to find it, and I suppose they are both on the road together somewhere. What a goose you are to do such silly things, said the husband. How can you say so? Said she. I am sure you never told me not. Gosh, I hope we have some kind of resolution at the end of this story. They ate the dry bread together, and Frederick said, Kate, I hope you locked the door safe when you came away. No, answered she, you did not tell me. Thomas the Train. Then go home and do it now, before we go any further, said Frederick, and bring with you something to eat. How does he still trust her? What? Okay. Catherine did as he told her and thought to herself, by the way, Frederick wants something to eat, but I don't think he is very fond of butter and cheese. I'll bring him a bag of fine nuts and vinegar, for I have often seen him take some. Okay. When she reached home, she bolted the back door, but the front door she took off the hinges and said, Frederick told me to lock the door, but surely it can nowhere be so safe as if I take it with me. All right, maybe she is that dumb. Maybe she's that dumb. Wow. Okay. Okay. Maybe the moral of the story is something different than what I was thinking. Oh boy. So she's decided it's better to take the door with her. And the reason I'm saying she must be that dumb is because taking the door with her is harder work, and a woman is never going to opt for that. So this is dumb. So she took her time, by the way, and when she overtook her husband, she cried out, There, Frederick, there is the door itself. Now you may watch it as carefully as you please. Alas, alas, said he, what a clever wife I have. I sent you to make the house fast, and you take the door away so that everybody may go in and out as they please. However, as you have brought the door, you shall carry it about with you for your pains. Very well, answered she, I'll carry the door, but I'll not carry the nuts and vinegar bottle also. That would be too much of a load. So if you please, I'll fasten them to the door. Frederick, of course, made no objection to that plan. And they set off into the wood to look for the thieves. But they could not find them, and when it grew dark, they climbed up into a tree to spend the night there. Scarcely were they up, and who should come by but the very rogues they were looking for. They were in truth great rascals, and belonged to that class of people who find things before they are lost. They were tired, so they sat down and made a fire under the very tree where Frederick and Catherine were. Frederick slipped down on the other side and picked up some stones. Then he climbed up again and tried to hit the thieves on the head with them, but they only said, It must be near morning, for the wind shakes the fir apples down. Catherine, who had the door on her shoulder, began to be very tired, but she thought it was the nuts upon it that were so heavy. So she said softly, "Frederick, I must let the nuts go." "No," answered he, "not now. They will discover us. I can't help that. They must go." "Well, then make haste and throw them down if you will." Then away rattled the nuts down among the boughs, and one of the thieves cried, "Bless me, it's hailing." A little while after, Catherine thought the door was still very heavy, so she whispered to Frederick, "I must throw the vinegar down." "Pray don't," answered he. "It will discover us." "I can't help that," said she. "Go it must." So she poured all the vinegar down, and the thief said, "What a heavy dew there is." At last it popped into Catherine's head that it was the door itself that was so heavy all the time. So she whispered, "Frederick, I must throw the door down soon." But he begged and prayed her not to do so, for he was sure it would betray them. "Here goes, however," said she, and down went the door with such a clatter upon the thieves that they cried out, "Murder!" and not knowing what was coming, ran away as fast as they could and left all the gold. So when Frederick and Catherine came down, there they found all their money safe and sound. And that's the end. Well, I bet that's not how the story was before the 20th century. Now I'm going to have to look it up and see how it actually ended, because all that woman's stupidness, and it got resolved, and there were no consequences. And the woman had no consequences. In fact, that stupid door that she had ended up saving them and his gold. This is like, simping 101. He just kept putting up with it. And honestly, going after the robbers was probably, what are you going to do? There's a band of, there's all these rogues and rascals and robbers, and you and your wife are going to take them on with her idiot self? Oh my gosh, you guys. Well, there are some good stories in this book, and then there are some where the woman just gets away with it. So we have to think about, sorry, there's something in my eye. We have to think about, where did, simping begin? And when did it begin? And I think we can say a while. I mean, chivalry is a bit simpy. And the 20th century, as less and less was expected of women, but more and more seemed to be expected of men, certainly not less. And then this woman was such an idiot, and she really was an idiot, because she did carry that door. And so I think she actually was this dumb. Usually when you have this, I know I said it earlier in the middle of the story, that you guys sometimes are like, they can't be that dumb. It's all fake. It's all manipulation. But a lot of it is not. It's a warped way of looking at things. The way this woman looked at everything, she did. You know what it is? I think that the female brain has a harder time seeing the full picture. I think that our brains are wired to have children, take care of young children in the family setting. I think that is how our brains, and that's just how we're wired. That's how we're created. And that's where our strongest skill set is. And so the baby is crying. We have to deal with this. It's an immediate, like, it's got to happen now. And that's what's important. And pulling back, seeing the bigger picture, projecting, well, what will this mean for 5 years from now? What will this mean for 10 years from now? That is not the automatic way that our brains think. And I kind of wish I did, and I could. And I used to think that I thought that way, but I didn't. What I thought was, well, I know where I see myself in 5 years or 10 years. But that was just like a projection. It wasn't something that's happening now. How does that affect 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And I always thought I was that type of a thinker. But when it really gets down to it, when I look at decisions I've made in life, I do think, oh gosh, I didn't think about what that would mean for 5 years in the future, because I was so sure that what I was doing in the moment was right. Why? Feelings, probably because of feelings. And, we need the balance of like the man being able to pull back and be like, wait a second. Because they have like, sometimes I call it a computer brain. You guys can like risk assess and cost benefit. It's very like that. And you can do that without feelings, which is important, because then you can just look at the facts, and obviously some men are more like this than others. There's clearly going to be a spectrum, especially with so many people being raised by only mothers and no fathers, or fathers in the house, a man in the house, but he doesn't lead, he doesn't whatever. It's all however the woman wants to raise the children. So it's feelings, feelings, feelings. And if the child is sad or angry or this or that, that means you must be doing something wrong. When I was growing up, it was like, no, that's not supposed to be how it is. If your kids like you, your kids are not supposed to like you because you're their parents. You're going to be telling them no. And that's good for them, and that's what they want. But so anyway, so our skill set is more for that. And I wish sometimes I feel like, gosh, yeah, I couldn't see it. But that's why we're good for each other. But I think Catherine in this story is like a hyper exaggerated example of a woman who's just like in the moment and thinking very literally and unable to see the bigger picture. Like, it's not about keeping the door safe, lady. And there is a point to be made. Don't be mad at me. There is a point to be made that you shouldn't assume that she sees the reason for the thing the same as you do. And that would be a scenario in a marriage where I could say, be patient with your wife in that way. But I would say to the wife in that situation, understand that there are things that you can't see, because that's not where you are strongest, and trust that he can. Where is the hate in what I just said? Where did I say that anybody was bad or stupid or this or that or the other? I didn't. But that's the brainwashing, and that's the propaganda. And it's absolutely not based in any kind of reality. It's just propaganda. And it doesn't recognize that men are men and women are women, and you're good at what you're good at, and we're good at what we're good at. We don't see things the same way, and we don't have the same roles, and that's a beautiful thing. Frederick and Catherine. Frederick just didn't get a clue that his wife was really dumb. This type of a dummy woman, she did seem fairly sweet. Maybe she would take extra direction. I would say to Frederick, we need to be specific about what we're doing. And we need to understand that this lady is very literal. I actually can relate. I sometimes I don't know, maybe that's a woman thing. I don't think so. But I do. I get like that with people when they're a certain way, and I will take it literally. And I will be a little confused, especially the way it's worded. People, I feel like, can't communicate as well as they used to, and then I take it literally, and then I'm confused, and I'm like, hold on. I'm starting to think, well, maybe I'm just got a level of autism going on. I don't know, but Catherine definitely needed to be, she needed that. Then, you know what? There's a lot of you guys that are like, I don't want that. I don't want to have to go around babysitting a woman and making sure that she's not being an idiot with stuff that is so simple. It's like, you should know that we're protecting the house. I get it, and you shouldn't. There are men that wouldn't mind it as much and, would be like, I don't mind leading in all the simplest, most obvious ways. Like, they might actually rather enjoy it. And so that would be more, and maybe they would be good at, teaching her. Clearly she didn't have a father that could, or a mother that could. So, because I think the mother should, teach the woman to, understand some of these things, because, it helps because you have a woman brain explaining to a woman brain under the authority of the father. But yes, we are talking about Fairytale land, because I am going back to, time before the Industrial Revolution, which kicked off right after the American Civil War, which is interesting because we weren't industrializing. We weren't keeping up with Europe because England was charging right ahead. We weren't. Then we had a civil war, and immediately, weird. But I'm sure the Civil War was fought over what they said. I'm sure it's everything that we learned in history is true. I'm sure that everything they say the Civil War was fought over was that. And please be mindful of your comments on that, because, we don't want YouTube to think that we're a bunch of hateful people, because we're really not. We just want to know what the truth is. And the more I learn about history and everything that's going on, the more I realize there is more truth in these books than there is certainly in the corporate media. Goodness, that's an understatement, right? Oh my gosh. Well, I hope you guys are having a good Sunday. If you guys have any suggestions on what you'd like me to talk about, anything you'd like me to cover, I can't do all of it, and some of the things, we'll see. But I really, really appreciate your suggestions and requests, because that's what I'm here for. Anyway, I hope you have found some peace today on this Sunday. I hope that you found a way to feed your soul and take care of yourself. And I will see you guys all on the next one. Take care.